Hello guys, welcome to another Banter Blitz with me, International Master Andrey Ostrovskiy. Just as usual, we're going to play several games and analyze everything what is happening on the board during the game and continue with a, light version of analysis after each and every game to understand the mistakes. Hi everyone on chat. I can see a lot of people are there. Zeal says perfect audio and video. Thanks a lot. I was going to ask you about that, but you already know my habits. All right, so let's get straight to playing then. Let's see. We should have several challenges already. Just as usual, I'm going to start with challenges coming from people I've never ever played before, so I usually play 3 games against these guys, and then I just get back to normal order of challenges, taken one by one. So I can notice immediately the guy from Turkey, MPR Badis, we have never played, so I will accept this challenge. And I'm playing with black pieces, okay. And I have a feeling that Zeal said good luck MPR Badis before I decided to accept that challenge. So it's also perfect knowledge of, my habits. Great. At some point, I may just completely retire. What? No. Before people play something like bishop to d3, I have no right to retire, I guess. That's very strange. Although I believe it's playable. I mean, white can play something like c3 and bishop to c2, but this is just so strange. Okay, let's just keep on playing normal moves. B3, then bishop to b2, apparently. It's not that bad, actually. I'm just wondering what is the right approach against this. So white has castled. I don't want to play d5, because in that case, after, say, ed5, the bishop will be no longer that bad. So I think I will just keep that pawn on d6 for some time, just to see what is gonna happen to that bishop, because, well, it looks rather passive, right? Rook there, now I can play knight to d4, right? Just intending to damage the pawn structure. So, when I played bishop g4, I wanted to continue with the knight to d4. Bishop b2, of course, prevents the damage of the pawn structure, but now I get a pair of bishops, which is also quite good. Okay, I think now we want to open the position, so let's start the preparation for it. D4 is not a threat, so maybe we can play d5 right now. Or maybe we can wait a bit. I just don't like how my bishop is placed on c5. It's rather vulnerable, so I'd like to have it there on a7. And I also want another pieces to be centralized before I play d5. That's what I usually do. Excuse me. I just try to bring all the pieces to ideal positions if it is possible, and only then get to active operations. In that case, I make sure that after the opening of the position, all the pieces will be on right places. And this is just a terrible blunder. Just grab the queen, and of course it's over now. All right. Anyway, rook a to d8, and just d5. All right. Now we're definitely ready because we have more pieces on the board. We actually have extra queen. So, but still, I decided to play rook a to d8 first, and only then d5. We can simplify a bit, because it's a natural strategy when you have advantage in material to simplify stuff. So, f takes e3 is forced, where after we can play queen d2 attacking, probably queen a5 was much better, attacking the rook and the bishop, not the rook and the pawn. but this also looks nice. So now we can play what? Just queen e2. Queen f2 is also possible. And then rook to d1. And it's a checkmate. Alright, so there's nothing to comment. Too many blunders. You have to work on basics, I believe. And probably you should avoid playing too much Blitz at the moment. So better play longer time controls. Okay, so next one. Let's see if we have somebody I've never ever played before. Yeah, here is Serious Llama, I think. So I will play this guy. 3-minute game though. Have to be fast and furious. Well, definitely I have to be fast. The question coming from Twitch: are you watching the final today, Andrey? I think no. I have some plans with my family. I think it's a bit more important than chess. Alright. So I'm playing this not very ambitious line, I guess. But it's quite poisonous. Because black thinks, well, all the problems are solved automatically if white doesn't attack on the king side, which is not true in the vast majority of cases. So bishop d7, bishop e6 doesn't look very consistent to me. I would have rather played bishop e6 immediately. But position is not that open, so I guess it's not critical to lose a tempo. So the question, why do you play with players whose rankings are few? Are you afraid? No, I'm not afraid. The show is that, you know, people come and leave a challenge. That's the thing. And I accept challenges from viewers and from premium members. And I'm just taking challenges from newcomers to the show. So people I've never played before. And then I just take it one by one. I don't care about the rating. So I'm not a famous fucking legend. That's why probably higher rated players are not very interested in playing against me. So I'm taking challenges from, you know, people who leave challenges. I'm not looking at rating when I'm doing it. So h6. There are different ways to play it. You can keep the bishop on the board. You can also just take on f6. I think in this particular case I will keep it for now, because who knows, maybe my opponent will play something like g5, weakening the position even more. And now, what to do now? So normally black puts the knight on c4. Here black is not doing it for now, at least. Maybe we should force it like this. I'm not sure. Alright, and just, you know, just go to attack a7 or something. I have only 1 minute on the clock, so I have to definitely speed up a bit. So let's centralize the pieces. Queen f3, then rook goes to, say, d1. Like this. Now we have pair of bishops. And the position is no longer that, you know, closed. So we can try to open it even more, I suppose. Something like that. Getting closer and closer to opponent's weaknesses. Now, what to do? Bishop takes a6, looks good. And then back to d3 to attack g6. And e7 is also a weakness, but my problem is that I spent too much time on, you know, answering the question from YouTube. And now I have no time. So this is very dangerous situation. But my position looks just very strong. It should be, to be honest, it should be winning do I have enough time to convert it? That's a good question. Let's just do the best we can do in this situation. b6 is under attack. Let's play c4 to protect d5. So bishop control the situation now, but after c4 my bishop is a bit out of play, I would say. I don't really like it. It's just offside, but other pieces look good. So we won a pawn, finally. We can try to win another one. Probably. b3 was unnecessary. Okay. 22 seconds on the clock. Our opponent also has some problems with time on the clock. So it's a severe time trouble. I think we're in a good situation now. Let's just promote the pawn and win the game. Queen here. Let's take that rook as well. 7 seconds should be enough, I suppose. For a checkmate, yes. Whew! It was a dramatic game, so I was completely focused on playing, so didn't comment a lot. But once again, just to clarify the things, I'm not afraid of playing good, strong opponents. Moreover, if you follow my shows, you know that I'm playing strong opponents, Grandmasters, FIDE Masters, International Masters. It doesn't hell matter who's playing against me. I'm just accepting challenges. First, I played 3 games against guys I've never played before, okay? And then I just take challenges one by one. That's the thing. From one show to another one, and I've made already more than 100 banters on Chess24. Alright. Whew. My god, that was something. That was really intense. That was really intense. Nice game, but as I said, I'm not really sure that bishop d7 followed by bishop e6 was good. So if you want to play bishop e6, you should try it immediately. Nothing actually stops you from doing it. You save time in this case, and in some lines you can just play d5. Alright. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. So, Iron Math says, it's your banter, Andrey, and we appreciate yours here. Yeah, but yeah, some people just ask questions. I'll have to answer, because probably this guy didn't watch lots of my shows before. Okay. Let us continue. Let us continue. Ooh. Yeah, let's have a look at what happened actually in this game. I think somewhere here, yeah, King h7 was not very clear to me. After f4, for example, something like knight to g4 deserved attention, but in that case, I think queen b6 is not a threat. Maybe knight to c4, after all, was a move. So in this case, I usually take there, and normally I don't have a pawn on f4, but here I do have it. Here, but maybe it's not that different from typical stuff, so I usually have this material relationship, so the knight against the bishop, and I think that this knight in many cases becomes you know, a bit better than that bishop, because that bishop is limited. Black still has chances, of course, to continue with the normal minority attack with b5, a5, and b4, but it's not so simple, because whenever you play b5, a5, you weaken a lot, including c6 square, for example. But again, normally it happens with the pawn on f2. Here it is on f4, so white committed some weakening of the position. Maybe black could have used it somehow. For example, undermine it with the g5, a crazy plan, but maybe it could work at some point. I don't know. Deserved attention, in my opinion. Okay. Let us continue one more game against somebody I've never ever played before. Not a single game. Let's see if we have such a challenge. There should be. Yeah. Dodo Momo 007. Accept. And again, 3-minute game. Whew. Oh, yeah. I'm too old for all this. You know. Too fast. Playing with black pieces. So after this game, we get back to normal order of challenges. Oh, by the way, I can see that Prom Night came back to premium account. Nice. I'm happy that you managed to solve your problem. So what's going on here? What's going on here? Why my opponent is not responding? There was a claim at the very beginning of the show to, accept the challenge. I did. And now there is no move, Evan. I don't know what happened. Yeah, here we go. Okay, nice. She's playing with black pieces and 3-minute game. So I prefer to play 5-minute games because my primary goal is to explain things. When I play 3-minute games, there is no time to explain stuff properly. I mean, the way I love to explain it. Alright, d4, before even playing castle and short. What is this? Well, I guess we can just take it like this, right? So there is a good line. Maybe I'm just blundering something, I don't know. I've never seen this before, to be honest. Never seen this before. I've seen castling and then after knight f6, d4, followed by bishop g5 and stuff. Maybe we can just get to it. Well, I don't know. I have a feeling that I just have extra pawn here and no proper compensation for white. So Prom Night asks, Andrey, how do you know about my account issue? Well, 1 week ago or something, I guess, you came be non-premium member and you were discussing it on chat, I suppose. And I guess that I noticed it. I didn't respond to it, but I noticed it on chat. And that's how I know you had a problem. There was also Ollie who responded to your message, I suppose. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I've seen something like that on chat. b4. Alright, so here is a threat of playing b5, and e5 is under pressure, so I think it's a good time to play d6. Moreover, I anyway wanted to do that, just to prepare the development of my light squared bishop. The question is, where do I want to have that bishop? Probably I would put it on either g4 or e6, or maybe g4, forcing h3, slight weakening of the position, and then back to e6, exchanging that light squared bishop, which is quite active. I have no idea. Or maybe we just play bishop e6 immediately, and that's it. Right? So I have a feeling that we have fixed the position on the queen side in a very nice way, so that white cannot really make a progress there. We have extra pawn. I will remind you, after this exchange we have f-file open, and no real problems with this queen coming from the bishop on h4. We can also play knight e7 to support our bishop if we need. We have this nice spot on c5 for either the bishop or the knight. And my opponent is disconnected. Now my opponent is back. So position is probably lost already for white, to be completely honest. I don't think d4 was good in that position. So what's happening? My opponent is just losing on time. Well, I don't know. Pretty disappointing experience. But I think what my opponent confused was this famous line with castling first, and then after knight f6, d4, bishop takes d4, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, and bishop to g5. With a rapid development and playing f4 and, you know, an attempt to compensate the missing pawn with pair of bishops and active play in the open position. That's the idea. So this different order of moves, well, probably deserved some attention, especially after I captured with the bishop. It was like a, you know, automatic reaction. For example, here it was interesting for white to try at least knight to g5 to attack f7, although I believe after something ugly but pretty solid, knight to h6, I'm fine. So I can castle next, I can put my queen on e7 or f6, so I believe that f7 will be protected anyway. Alright, okay, so normal order of challenges. Here is, I don't know, chess? No? Is that the right way to pronounce your nickname? Let's accept that game. Playing with black. d4, knight f6. So people say there was a bad connection. I understand. I also have a bad connection. I live in Germany. It's, you know, well-known issue for German players, a bad internet connection. But the position was absolutely lost, so I'm not going to repeat that game, okay? We have clarified everything already. So now, normal order of challenges. I'm just wondering what happens if I take there. It's completely stupid, actually, because I'm just helping white and not doing anything useful myself. But I'm experimenting. Normally, I don't play knight to e4 against bishop g5. So this game is just a pure experiment. Let's see what I can do with all of this. First, I'm wondering where white is going to castle, because castling short now, after playing h4, looks a bit strange. Castling long, well, okay. I think I'm more or less ready for it. Now, for instance, I can play queen b6, exerting some pressure on b2 already. Castling, of course, b2 cannot be captured now. So I think it's a good time to continue with the development. The question is how to do that correctly. So we can probably just play e6 and then bishop d6 or something. Another way to play it would be to start with h6, bishop f4, then knight f6, but then I stop controlling e5 square, so I believe this is a bit more logical. c4. So the question from Twitch, East German? No, West German. It doesn't matter where you are in Germany. It's just a shitty internet connection everywhere. Queen to a6 looks natural to me now. b3. All right. Now bishop d6, I believe. So, Andrey, you are a bit prejudiced. German internet infrastructure gets better and better every day. Maybe it's time for an upgrade or change of providers. Well, you're right. You're right. I agree that it's not like, you know, a statement. So that internet connection in Germany is super bad and so on. It's more like a joke. It's a funny thing. Yeah, I know that it's getting better, probably. But it's also hard to change the provider. I mean, it's a long story. You have to, I don't know, follow this strict terms in your contract. in many cases you end up, running two internet providers simultaneously. That's what I'm talking about. It's really hard. It's annoying, and in many cases you just end up, with the old provider waiting for some changes, but it's not gonna change, so on and so forth. So it's a long story and quite painful. I mean, I'm just comparing it to my homeland Ukrainian internet. It's so much easier there to get the internet to start with. You don't have to wait for a long time. You're just getting it like in a matter of several hours after the request, and then you basically enjoy it. If you don't like it, you just change the provider. There are no this obligatory contracts, stuff like that, or at least the conditions are much easier. And I would be happy if internet in Germany would be like internet in Ukraine, to be honest, which is quite strange, right? But that's the thing. Okay, so once again I made the same mistake. I spent too much time on responding to a comment, not really focusing on what is happening on the board, but fortunately I didn't blunder anything, so I'm still in the game, and I managed to come up with some prophylaxis on the king side to prevent a direct attack at least against my king, I guess. And now I think it's time to try something on the queen side, to fight for some squares at least, because it's getting a bit annoying. So my opponent simply has a bit more space, and my pieces are doing nothing. So what I'm trying to do now is to get to d5 with my knight. For this I play bishop e7. If there is an exchange of bishops, it will be not so hard task to get there. But in this case I think I will prefer taking on e5, because that knight is quite strong, so it's better to get rid of it, simplify the position even more. And now I have a target in the form of d4 pawn, so let's just focus on attacking that target. So probably rook d8, rook d7, another rook to d8 can be a plan. Our queen is no longer that stupid, so it can go to a3 and then maybe to b2. Or maybe a5 and c3, again, with the idea to attack d4. So, to some extent it felt like it was misplaced for a long time, but now it occupies a very logical position. Okay, queen e4. Alright, just rook d7 I think is okay. Then another rook to d8. Everything looks like under control. And this maneuver I was talking about, just getting closer and closer. Okay, let's first play rook to d5, which is probably a mistake, but I'm attacking h5. Now I'm going to take this one. So what was the idea behind rook d5? Just to control the fifth rank. For example, in this case it's looking good. Right. Check. Rook to f5 check. Makes sense to me. Now queen to h1. No, probably not the best square. Yeah, it was indeed not the best square. But we can attack g5 now with another rook, right? Okay, I won. And the ending was, again, the final stage of the game, I mean, or heavy pieces ending, you can call it, if you will, was quite dramatic here. And, yeah, I think queen to h1 was a bad move. Instead, I could have probably... Rook d5 doesn't work probably, but something like rook to d5 deserved attention, right? Just to attack g5. That was the target. So, yeah, missed that one. But in general, what failed to start the attack on the king side, and gradually I managed to improve my position and actually created a target. So probably after b5, this c5 was not the best reaction. I would have considered something just protecting c4 and maybe, you know, keeping this tension. On the other hand, to do that, you need to dedicate the rook or something. I have no idea. And here comes my famous clock. You have heard it probably if you followed previous streams from this room. So it is the clock that produces animal sounds each and every hour. Yeah, I mean, if you want to protect c4 here, you need to play something like rook to c1, which is a bit ugly, probably. Maybe white should search for an improvement a bit earlier. In general, I would say that I would have expected white to castle lone if white started with his h4, especially after queen d2. I would have castled lone and then tried to start a rapid attack in the center or on the king side, or maybe just combining both. Let's say after bishop f5, let's imagine something like castling lone, and then playing instead of knight f3 something like f3 with ideas like g4 and e4. I think it would be much sharper and much more interesting hence. So Prom Knight asks, nice clock, where to buy? I have no idea. I should ask my wife. Where did she find it? Alright, let's continue. The next game and the next challenge, Chess Bist Austria. Accept. And again, black pieces. Nah, hate it. Knight to f3, knight to f6. g3, d5. And just e6. That's what I usually play against g3 systems. I mean, I'm ready to play against Catalan in this case. And also against King's Indian attack. This way, white is just undermining the pawn with a c4, probably saying that, okay, I'm not going to play e4, which is another typical plan for this opening. So, yeah, let's just keep on developing pieces here. And here, again, the typical reaction is to take with the piece to avoid the pawn structure with hanging pawns. If you take with the e pawn, let's say, then white can play d4, and then either isolated pawn arises if you take on d4, or white can take on c5 later, and there will be hanging pawns. Okay, e4 weakens d3 a lot, so I think it's logical just to go there and attack it. And I'm not sure that e4 was a good idea. Or maybe it's fine. I don't know. So now, it's really tempting just to play bishop a6, where after white may try something like e5, but this will weaken d5 forever. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, e5 also closes the diagonal for dark squared bishop. I think it's good. I think it's just good for white, for black, and not good for white. Question, are you accepting 3 or 5? Which one? So 5 is preferable, but 3 is also okay. Probably underestimated this move because I thought I would always have like bishop f6. But now I can see there will be e5. And if I play f6, I am losing e6 pawn. Right, so let's just play this move. I think I'm forced to. Which is annoying, but I guess I'm not being checkmated, especially after e5. I'm just fine, right? So, knight to d5, then knight to c6. We're gonna be good. And bishop on a6 is okay, anyway. Attacking d3 and at least messing with white's coordination here. Okay, let's get there. e5 is under attack now. We also control d4 square. All right. Queen a4 probably deserved attention. attacking both the bishop and the knight. Of course, I had a defense like bishop to b7, but it was a bit ugly, in my opinion. So what to do now? Would be nice to play d4, but knight on c6 is heading, so I'm going to solve that problem with rook to c8. And then I want to play d4. Especially after this move, I think it makes sense. Just to stop knight from going to e3. At the same time, closing the diagonal for the bishop. Knight to a3. I can take on e5 now. And I will do it. That was one of the ideas behind playing d4. Just to attack the pawn. Okay. So now bishop f6, right? Yeah, I think it's a logical move. Just to protect the knight. Maybe bring the bishop to g7 to cover dark squares around my king. Okay. How to take it? With the bishop or with the knight? It's a good question. Both pieces look good. But, sorry, I love bishops. So, I'll take with the knight. There is a suggestion from Prom Knight to play Queen f4 instead of e5. Yeah, let's have a look at it after the game. Let's grab this one and exchange it, I guess. We have extra pawn in the ending. We still have to convert it, of course. I think we have good chances to do that. Let's just bring the rook to d8. What should we do now? What is the right way to play it? I'm not sure. Let's do something. So, I want to put as many pawns on light squares as possible, which is usually a good idea for endings with same colored bishops. Now I just want to occupy the e-file, since white is not fighting for it, which is a bit surprising to me, because it is effectively the only open file in this position for now. Let's bring the rook to the first rank now, where it will definitely have some targets. For example, this pawn now. King g2 probably deserved attention, I don't know. So let's have a look how we can make progress here. I think we should definitely play on the queen side. The question is how, though. So we can gradually get closer to the center with the king. And then a6, b5 probably at some point. Yeah, it will be not so simple, I guess. But we will try. We will try. Maybe we'll create another weakness. Oh, after a b5, well, it's gonna be easier for us to play. Oh, after that, I think it's just super simple. White really helped me. Now it's absolutely winning. It's just two connected passers here. Okay, good. Or maybe not so good. So let's have a look at the moment where my opponent could have played better according to Prom Knight. So it was that moment where white played e5, which definitely stopped white active play on the king side completely. So the suggestion was to play queen f4 with ideas like queen e5 and queen h6. Well, I think in this case, black can simply continue with the knight to c6 move, right? A developing move with the idea of playing knight to d4 or e5 or whatever, just closing the diagonal for the bishop. So now I prevented queen e5. I want to take on d3 most likely, although it may be a bit dangerous, but I think it's fine for now. And yeah, I have a threat of playing knight d4, a positional threat. I mean, if white plays c5 here, it's no difference compared to the game. If white doesn't play e5, well, I will either play bishop g5 next move, just completely solving the problem, or e5, which is also a threat now, because if you take twice, then there is bishop f6 at the end. Or knight d4 or something. So I believe it was not that dangerous. If queen goes to h6 here, for example, as I said, I may play e5, I can also play knight to d4. So Prom Knight says queen h6 and after bishop f6, but I don't have to play bishop f6, I can play this move, for example. And that's it. Your initiative is finished. And by the way, there is a sort of bishop g5 trap in your queen. So bishop f6 is not the only defense against the checkmate after queen h6. Knight e4 is also absolutely fine. Okay, so let us continue. The next is blunder. No, not blunder panda. First onam, then blunder panda. Accept. d4, knight f6. And knight f3. Okay, there will be Catalan, I believe. Yeah, because Onam usually plays same stuff, just like me. I prefer to be conservative in the sense of openings I play. Once started, I keep on doing it. Unless it's proven that I'm playing a complete shit that doesn't give me good results. Okay. Pawns are exchanged. Position is simplified. So that is exactly what we're usually playing with Onam when he is white. And I'm black. If I'm white and Onam is black, then we are playing what? Modern defense or something like that, as far as I remember. Okay, so here I usually prefer just to put my bishop on b7, not because a6 is a bad position for it, but just because white's only active plan in this pawn structure is usually based on e4, and I just want to control that square sufficiently to prevent it, or to make it not that dangerous at least. Now I want to get rid of that knight on e5. Let's exchange it. Rook to c1. Alright, let's just grab that knight. And put the queen on d7, controlling b5, preventing knight to b5 hence. And queen to a4. And also connecting rooks and protecting the bishop on b7, so it's a multi-purpose move. But the main idea is just to bring the rook from f8 to c8, I guess. It's just a good place for the rook here. Queen to b5, I think it's just a waste of time, isn't it? Just bishop c6 now. Or queen a6 is possible. But is it that dangerous? Not sure. Okay, we will see. Yeah, it's just a waste of time in this case. So now, what is next? We can play knight e8 followed by knight e6 or something like that. We can also consider playing b5 and b4, grabbing a bit more space. I think this is a good idea for us. Yes, we can c5, but I don't see how white is going to use it. The knight is far away from that square. It's really not possible to get there quickly, which means we will have time to play b4. Grabbing space, improving our bishop, so we can put it on b5, for example, here. Yeah, I start loving my position, actually. And now we can take on a3 easily. Winning some material for sure. But but there may be a problem with the pawn structure. So let's say we take on a3, rook c8, queen c8, bishop takes f6. Is it a good position for us? I mean, it's hard to evaluate it easily, so let's just try it. I mean, it's a good thing to experiment a bit with pawn structures. By the way, we can include bishop b4 move here. I think it's a good one. But is it necessary? So if we play bishop b4, there's queen b2. If we take on e1, queen b5, and then g takes f6, we indeed win the exchange. Yeah, I guess it's interesting. Let's include it. Bishop b4. That bishop on f6 can be captured, I think, at any moment. So, yeah. The worst scenario for black, we just take on f6 next move, and we have extra pawn, pair of bishops, but slightly damaged pawn structure. But I think it's fine. I mean, I guess black is doing great here. So white definitely underestimated this plan with b5, b4. Probably it was interesting for white to try to take on... Oh, what's going on here? What if I just take on e1? It's just completely lost for white, no? Well, pretty much. Now I would just take here to simplify the stuff even more. And, yeah. After queen g4, I'll just go to the center with the king, because I believe my king will be absolutely safe there. Right, so queen g4, king f8, then my king is hiding on e7, and my pawn is just running towards the promotion square, and it's just over for white. Completely lost position. Now the question is to include queen c1 or not to include it. I think it's a good idea to have the queen there already, like, supporting the pawn a bit. Maybe it was not needed. Maybe it was fine just to push the pawn. I don't know. Either way, I think it's just lost for white. Yeah, the only chance was just to bring the queen through d3 to b5 quickly. But again, I don't think white was in time anyway. So now we can do whatever we want. I like the idea of just playing rook here. And then to b1. And then just taking on f1, everything, and playing a3, right? Just complete simplification and winning because the king is outside of the square of the pawn on the a file. The easiest way to, you know, eliminate any danger, any potential problems coming from that queen, just to get rid of that queen. So, the question, do you have a fixed schedule? Well, yes, 1 hour and a half. So we're going to finish in 40 minutes, more or less. And maybe you were asking about, you know, which days I'm streaming. So for now, it's mainly weekends, but the time is, you know, is floating. So. All right, what to say here? There was an interesting moment when I played a5. So here I thought it could be interesting for white to try this bishop takes f6, because if I take with the bishop, and that is most likely what I would have played, then b4 is possible to stop me from playing b4. But in this case, obviously, this pawn may become a target easily. But then I'm not sure that I have so many resources to attack it for real. Like rook a3, okay, just rook to c1. And then gradually, maybe you can even maneuver the knight towards c5. It will be not so simple to accomplish, but it can be a plan. And what's important, my bishop remains quite passive here. So some advantages and disadvantages for white after playing b4. Yeah, creating a weakness, but stopping me from activating my light square bishop, which is, I think, quite good for white. At least if we compare it to what happened in our game. well, I think it's definitely better. All right. Okay. So let us continue. The next challenge is coming from Blunder Panda. So I'll accept that one. I'm playing with black pieces again. Come on. When is it gonna stop? I want to play with white. Because with white, I can dictate an interest in opening. So I can play e4, already saying that, hey, I'm playing something open. And in many cases, my opponents respond with Sicilian, which is just funny to play. And now we're just playing this boring Italian again. Well, I'm just kidding, of course. It doesn't matter with which color you play. You just have to do your best. Alright. H6. B4. Okay. So there are different approaches after B4. I mean, there is usually a choice between bishop B6 and bishop to A7. And this usually means the choice between giving white a chance to play A5 with the tempo or not. And I think it's fine if white plays A5 or something in this position. But white decided not to do that. And I'm in the mood to experiment a bit. Who taught you chess? The question. My father. When I was 5. He was my first teacher. '97. That's what I was trying to do. So I'm just relocating my knight to G6, which is one of the typical maneuvers in Italian here, in the slow Italian version. And I usually don't play it. I just base everything on bishop e6, just fast castling, then bishop e6, trying to exchange light square bishop, and play d5 if possible. But sometimes, you know, I try these maneuvers because there is some merit to it. The knight is quite good on g6, always ready to jump to f4 to create some threats, so makes white nervous at least. At least should make white a bit nervous. Alright, and d4 is played, so white is saying that, okay, white is ready for active operations. We can bring the bishop to g4 now, exerting additional pressure on d4 if we want. We can also play rook e8. I like the rook e8 move. Let's see, if white simplifies everything on e5, I'm probably not against that. And that goes to g3. And now bishop g4. Can this be interesting, even? Well, let's have a look. It's hard to say. So, I want to take on f3 and then take on d4 at least. White has to react somehow. Maybe not so simple. So, it resembles early d4 line in Ruy Lopez, with the difference that white's knight is on g6. Not hanging on c6, so maybe in this case I can just take on d4 and then e4 will be hanging. I don't know, let's try it. If cd4 I can just take on e4, I guess. And if bishop d4, white is losing the center, which is also fine for me. And now we can play d5, right? Yeah, it's getting really good. And now if e takes d5, and I think it's more or less forced, then rook e1, and since the knight is pinned, queen has to take, and then we take on f3, damaging the pawn structure, and then we can just take on d5 if we want, so white's pawns become a mess, right? Question, what is the difference between Super Grandmaster, Grandmaster, and International Master? So here is the difference. I'm International Master, I'm 2400 something. If we talk about the FIDE rating, Grandmaster is usually 2500 plus. strong grandmaster, really strong grandmasters, usually 2600s plus, and super grandmasters is usually 2700s plus, or sometimes you refer to a super grandmaster when you're talking about top 20 or something like that. That is at least how I understand it. But there is no official title like super grandmaster, so there is indeed just international master and grandmaster. That's it. So here comes rook e1, queen e1 is forced. Now we take on f3 with pleasure, and look, we have a much better pawn structure. At least it feels like that. But here comes an interesting question. So if we take on d5, then queen goes to e4. And I'm not sure that we're so much better. Maybe we should play a bit trickier, like queen d7 or rook e8 instead. I'm not sure about that at all. So I'm not taking on d5, I mean, I'm not regaining the material, but I want to occupy the e file. And also, there are some ideas based on jumping with the queen to h3 towards the g2 square. So now queen to where did I want to play? Queen to d6 or queen to e7, I think. That was my idea. I'm not sure what am I doing here. So I want to start attacking these guys. d4, d5, f3, f2 and stuff like that. It's not that simple though. Because white is controlling the center in a really good way. Yeah, knight e4 just closing everything for me. But we can play knight h4 now, attacking the queen, and since my knight is protected on h4, I can continue with the f7, f5 here. Yeah, nice. d6 doesn't change a thing, I guess. We'll just take it. So we're winning here. Knight on h4 is protected. It's over for white now. I think we can even play g5, right? Yeah. To win f3. Or d4. Even d4 is good. Yeah, so white collapsed rather quickly here. Because missed f5 move. Probably white didn't understand that knight on h4 was protected. And I'm not sure that the evaluation of this position is so straightforward, but I think the way white's pawn structure was damaged was quite instructive. So you should understand that whenever you initiate this play in the center like d4, you have to be ready for all the sorts of changes in the center. So you have to take into account all different captures, undermining moves, so on and so forth. Like here, you have to understand that, well, knight e4 is possible, d5 is possible, e takes d4 followed by d5 is possible. By the way, I could have done it if I wanted. Any sorts of, preparation for these changes. So something like d4 is usually, a serious decision. And that's why I prefer to develop all of my pieces first and centralize all of my pieces first before I get to, activity of this kind. Involving the opening of the position, involving opening of the center, and so on. And I guess white is just not ready for it here, to be honest. Look at this. Bishop is still on c1. Pieces are not occupying ideal squares. Black's pieces are definitely not worse here. And no surprises that black quickly got some, concrete play in the center, because when you play d4, you create some targets. And what I did, I just used that targets. Maybe not the best way, but, I guess, having a pawn structure like this is not that pleasant, right? Okay. So, let's continue. What about to attack the weak c-pawn with white instead to play queen into the center? After queen to d7, you mean if you play something like rook to c1 and queen to c3? Maybe, but you should understand that I'm ready to jump with the knight to h4 and then queen to h3. So, white should be very careful now. because there may be just a checkmate in attack. Okay, so the idea of queen d7 was also just to bring the queen there. I understand that probably position is not so simple to evaluate, but if you just bring your heavy pieces to the c file, for example, and I bring all of my pieces to the king side, you'll be checkmated. As simple as that. And there is also a threat of rook e8, grabbing the e file, and then knight h4, queen h3, and so on. I don't know. So, let's continue. Ravi is the next. Accept. And white pieces, thanks God. I'm so tired of playing with black. The question, have you ever beat Magnus, Andrey? No, I never played against Magnus to start with. If we talk about Super Grandmasters I played only Mamedjarov in Pro Chess League some sort of 2 or 3 years ago, and I managed to win. Yeah. That is a game I'm proud of, but definitely not my best game in the career. There were much more interesting fights. In that game, to be completely honest, Mamedjarov was playing not his best chess, I think. Bishop to g4. Alright, let's just get rid of it. I'm playing something I usually don't play here. Just again, experimenting a bit. What about e4? Prom Knight says, you won against Mamedjarov. Yes, and this game is actually on the database. Official database, because all the games from Pro Chess League are getting to the database. So you can check it. It's not like, you know, only chess.com archives or something. Because people are forced to play on their real names, using their real names in that tournament. At least it was like that when I participated. So I don't know how's that nowadays. Yeah. Okay, so what's going on here? We have sort of, you know, typical position from King's Indian attack or ready opening. I don't know. And usually you maneuver your knight to c4, as far as I know. Again, usually I have this position with black pieces, since I don't play it with white. So it all looks a bit unusual to me. So knight to c4 exerting some pressure on e5. Now probably the next move should be something like rook to e1. Or maybe just knight e3, head into d5. d5 is also a nice spot for the knight. Yeah, I'll try it. Especially since black decided not to control that square for now. Maybe it makes sense to relocate there immediately. And then knight to d5. Is it a move now? That's a good question. So knight e5, knight e5, e5. Nah, it doesn't give me anything, I guess. Alright. So maybe we should also just move our knight f3 somewhere. Protecting e4 now. Maybe we will put that knight on c4, and then that knight will go to d5. Or maybe we will do this like this. So first knight d5, especially after bishop e6. Now if knight takes, then pawn takes, and there is a fork. So yeah. Again, not sure if we are even achieving anything, because to support the knight now, I have to play some like c4, which weakens a lot of dark squares. But then, to use them, black will have to maneuver a lot, so maybe we'll have time to actually cover all the dark squared weaknesses. I know the consequences of decisions like c4, you know. I've played a lot of games with black pieces just punishing white for doing something like this. But it's always a question of a concrete position with concrete features. So sometimes we're just not in time to, you know, get to dark squares, which means it's okay to make a decision like that. So right now I'm ready to develop my dark squared bishop. And also there is this knight to c5 move. Should I play like that? I mean, it's definitely not a bad idea. But then what? I think long term I made a mistake by playing c4. But we will see. I don't think it's a super bad position because knight on e7 is completely misplaced. For example, it's far away from d4. But it takes only 2 moves actually to play b6 on c5, and then knight through c6 gets to d4, so we have to be very careful. Maybe after black moves his bishop to c8, and I believe this is what's gonna happen here, I will play knight to d3 immediately before black plays b6, so that if black plays b6 I will play c5, stopping black from playing c6, c5, and then knight c6 and knight d4. That's important, I guess. But if black gives me a light squared bishop for my knight, I will be just happy to have it. Yes, okay. Now, going back, because b6 was a serious threat, followed by c5, knight c6, and knight e4. And now I think we'll just play no. On the other hand, it's fine, because we create a threat of bishop b2 attacking e5, and it's not so simple to protect. For example, after this move, f6 is forced, pretty much, which gives us some tempi. Some important tempi, I guess. Knight to c8, not even protecting e5. What's going on? Am I missing something? I mean, I will definitely capture it. Hell, it's a pawn. Yeah, there may be an exchange after bishop e5, and bishop to c4, but it's a good exchange for me, I think. Because my bishop g2 finally gets some play. I take on c4, and then I immediately play f4, e5, and hell, I have very active position, right? Queen d6 was suggested. Yeah, queen d6 was a move. In which case I could have played something like c5. Maybe queen c7 was better than queen d6 to avoid c5 with the tempo. In which case I could have played f4. But then again, it was not so clear to me, for sure. Okay, so now the question is how to take. I'm going to take with the pawn and just run my pawns here on the king side quickly. Like this. Maybe c5 now deserves attention. I don't know which move is better, but e5 looks pretty good to me. Now, it's very tempting to try different things here. I'll just start with rook b1 attacking b7. Now another open file is being occupied. Have to be very careful here, though. But now I think c5 should be played for sure. Knight is attacking nothing here for now. But there may be a problem with dark squares, with some of the dark squares. But hell, this looks so good for white now. I'll just play this move now. To have c5 protected and to control h4 square, hence preventing this move, preventing knight h4 and playing g4 with comfort. Now rook to d6 must be played, I believe. Maybe there was no must in playing this. I don't know, yeah, knight e8, pretty logical reaction. Okay, let's just take there. And Now let's just bring pieces closer to each other. And just continue with the attack. Right, I won on time. Black was indeed in trouble here, because I wanted just to play Queen f7 and Queen f8 checkmate, but I think position was still not so clear. Probably it's better for white now. But, for example... Well, there is another threat of just playing e7 followed by Queen f8, actually. There are two threats. No, I think maybe it's just lost, to be honest. Yeah, so what Black did wrong, Black allowed me to get this amazing initiative, and how to prevent it. Well, after I played knight to c5 and knight to d3, first of all, maybe bishop e6 was not necessary, but that was fine. b3, and now bishop g7. Yeah, here, I guess that move was good. There was a suggestion on Twitch to play queen d6, but I think queen c7 is a bit more accurate just to avoid c5, just in case. And pawn is protected. Yes, I can play f4, but then you can take. I think it's not that dangerous, not that bad for black. And everything is still under control. I think position is pretty much balanced here. What went wrong here is this knight c8, because this development is definitely great for white. As you can see, just all of a sudden, I'm having very strong pawns here on the king side, much more active pieces. Your knight is misplaced, having no strong points anymore. I'm about to attack b7, so I'm basically using the whole board to smash you here. That was definitely wrong. Maybe e5 was not the most accurate move, maybe c5 was actually the right one. In which case, as you can see, your knight definitely doesn't have any good squares here. You can undermine this pawn, but you will create a weakness on c6. It will be isolated pawn, which I will have a chance to attack not only with my heavy pieces, but with my bishop as well after playing e5. So yeah, I guess that was the reason of your problems in this game. Okay, let us continue. And the next one is Vincent. 3-minute game. Oh my god. Again, this roller coaster. But it's indeed one of the last games, I think. I think we'll still have time for one more after this one. So, Italian. And no slow Italians, but this interesting one. This is great. Okay. So it's a famous heretic line here. Come on, take on b4. What are you thinking of? Everything is forced. Maybe you don't know this line. Well, in that case, I'm fine. Right, I'll just take there. I expected castling. That was probably the main line. Now just d6, and I think black should be better. Because of the bishop against the knight. In a position with pawns on both flanks. And black's pawn structure is much better, because black has no weaknesses while white has torn pawns here. Alright, so here we go. Bishop to d5. At least that is the position I wanted to occupy. Now simply b5, controlling c4. Preventing c4. f3. That is probably preparing knight to e4. Okay, fine. So, what should we do? I think we'll just play h6 to control g5 square. Because after knight e4, I'm not going to take that knight. At least not that early. And this a4. So, what is the right reaction to that one? Absolutely correct move would be probably to keep... the one that keeps the a pawn as a passer, so just take it on a4 maybe. But was not so clear if I'm ready to, play that position. Not so sure. So the question, would you always prefer a bishop over knight? No, only in positions where, when, only in positions where the bishop is better than the knight. If there is a position in which the knight is better than the bishop, of course I will prefer the knight, because I'm always preferring what position likes. So if position requires the bishop, then there will be the bishop. It's not about personal preference if you play professionally. It's about the position. Always about the position. Okay, bishop to c4, I think. Protecting b5. Again, I'm not sure why white gave me a chance to activate the rook that easily. So there are types of positions in which the bishop is better than the knight, and the opposite. In this type of position, the bishop is better than the knight, for sure. Here we go. So king e6, or what? Or rook c2, followed by d5. I don't know. What is the right approach here? I think some sort of centralization wouldn't be bad. Now, that's a good question. To keep the rook on the board or not? Both look tempting, but for some reason I want to keep it for some time. Maybe because it's just so active, right? That was such an elitist answer. That was the answer that actually tells the truth about chess. Oh my god. So king to d5, I think, looks good. Just getting closer and closer. Also creating a threat of bishop d3. Now rook a2 is fine. How to determine if the position is good for the bishop? If there are no visible defects in your pawn structure, if the position is open, if the bishop has concrete targets in the opponent's camp, if you have pawns on both flanks, in the vast majority of cases, then the bishop should be preferred over knight. But these are just factors. And obviously, the concrete position may be different. So you have to take into account concrete factors as well. Now it's over for white. H5, no, I'll just run to the promotion square. First eliminated that knight, and then just promoting the pawn and collecting the rest of white's pieces. Yeah, winning the game. Okay. But the bishop wouldn't be better in ending without rooks because of c3 and d4. No, it will be better because the bishop controls also some squares. And again, in this particular case, although the bishop doesn't have a concrete target on c3, my king has that target, and my bishop can then target the knight, which is on the light square, protecting c3, right? I cannot attack it this way because of knight e2 fork, but I can play bishop b3 followed by bishop c2, attacking knight e4, and hence attacking e3. While the knight cannot do the same. So as you can see, the knight is just bound to c3 pawn here, and the knight cannot simultaneously protect something in own camp and attack something in opponent's camp in many cases. While the bishop can be placed somewhere in the center, let's say, and just imagine my bishop is on d5, and I have a pawn on f7 that you're going to attack. At the same time, you have f3, and just imagine it is weakened. So my bishop combines attacking something in your camp and protecting something in my camp. The knight is not capable of it. That's why typically, again, typically is a key word, Bishop is better than the knight in positions where pawns are on both flanks. Just read Capablanca and read, his introduction to chess. Everything is explained there. Already Capablanca explained everything about the knights and the bishop. Just be careful. And, applying it, because, well, there are too many factors that may change the evaluation, but that comes with the experience. All right? Okay. What do we have here? We probably have time for one more game. Let's play Tom. Let's play Tom. E4. And Sicilian, right? Right. Right. Let's go. E6. That's what I usually try to do here. By the way, I am exchanging the bishop for the knight, right? But there are visible defects of the pawn structure. Here we go. So, whenever you exchange the bishop for the knight, there should be concrete compensation for it. In this particular case, the compensation is based on bad pawn structure for black on the queen side that I'm going to use. Cobra asks, Andrey, is this the last game? Unfortunately, yeah, for today it will be the last game. I don't think we will have time for one more. But we're going to continue. So probably the coming weekend I will be streaming again. So now black will have some problems with developing the knight g8 as well. F5. Interesting. What's going on there? That is probably a good decision, by the way. And I don't think I have to take. So let's ignore it, I think. For time being, it's important to keep the knight on g8. So pawn on e5 is just too important. Alright, now we just play b3. Because our target is this, c5 pawn. That's what we're doing here. We'll just play knight a4 now. And then bishop to a3 attacking it. If we need it, because I think after bishop d8 we already win that pawn. It's already lost. We can take it immediately, right? So knight takes c5 now. And now e6 will drop as well after knight g5, but here it comes queen takes e5. Alright, that's a good question. Yeah, let's just protect e5 first. We're not in a rush. And we can also attack e6 from d4. Right, so if black plays h6 now, prevented me from playing knight g5, I can play knight d4 and then take an e6. Knight to g6. I think in this case we will just attack e6, because probably knight e5 loses on the spot after bishop to f4, pinning the knight, attacking it, and just winning it in a question. It's just a question of one move or two at max. And e6 is indeed hanging, so probably black has to do something ugly like knight to f8, which is good news for us, because this makes it harder for black to make castling. But knight e5 anyway. Alright, just bishop f4, I think it's time to resign. So bishop f6, just queen e2, and it's over. The knight is lost. Right? Right. Okay, there is queen b6. In which case I take on e5. And if queen c5, I take on f6 and then take on e6. Alright, maybe knight is not lost, but the king will be under fire, and the king will be lost as a result. I suppose. Okay. d5, just bishop e5. Queen takes e5, I think, is forced. Now we have extra minor piece, no compensation whatsoever. Knight f3, just queen f3. Was not working because I captured the knight, simultaneously protecting the bishop on f4. And after that, queen was under attack on c7. I'm answering the comment from Chess24 main chat. Knight takes e6. Rook takes e6. Another rook comes to e1, I suppose. Or maybe we just take on c6. I don't know. Everything works now. I love when all of my pieces are playing, so let's bring all of them. Yeah. So what to say? f5 was a nice try. Maybe f6 was a bit more interesting, because what you want here is actually me to take here, right? In which case you solve the problem of the development. You make your bishop much more active potentially. Yes, you weaken e5, but I'm not sure that it is that critical in this particular case. So if you play f5, it gives me a chance to ignore it, so I'm not forced to take. Which means probably f6 was what you wanted to do here. Probably. And another way to do the things here, I think, is just to play it like knight e7. I think this is the most interesting way to handle this position, because you bring your knight to g6, you play d6 e5, you try to play d6 e5, but you don't have this problem with developing your knight. So first knight comes to fight, through e7 to g6, and then only then bishop goes to e7. So you don't have this situation when e7 is already occupied and your knight kind of doesn't have a square to go. Okay, that's sort of recommendation here. All right, guys, thanks a lot for following. Thanks a lot for finding time for this stream. Hope everything was fine and you enjoyed it and learned something, because that's my primary goal. So not sure when the next stream is gonna happen, I mean my stream, but most likely it will be around Saturday and Sunday, or maybe both. See you around. Bye bye.